By the time I was 26, I was a father of 3 in the Army, and financially things were starting to get tough. I can tell you that. So we were stretched pretty darn thin, and I started looking at different options. And it just so happens that I went on leave and visited my stepbrother. He had just landed a job in Silicon Valley, and he was making triple what I was in the Army. And he didn't have any kids, and he was just like living life, like fancy cars, buying fancy things. And I saw that lifestyle, and I was like, wow, man, how do I get that gig? And we talked, and he said, dude, you could probably land a job here with your Army experience. Why don't you try? And I had like about 6 months left on my contract, and I was debating whether or not I was going to re-enlist. So I said, you know what, let me try. Let me see if I can get in there, and let's hook me up with an interview. And I doctored up a resume, gave it to him. He turned it in. Next thing I know, I got an interview. I was able to get a 3-day pass. I flew out to California, and I landed the job. Finished up my 6 months in the Army and got out to a high-paying job, making literally triple what I was in the Army. So that was my start in the technology field. And fast forward until I was about 41, 42 years old. Now I'm a GM working for a large computer networking company. And life was good from a salary standpoint. But where it wasn't good is that I was working my butt off. I was literally traveling all over the world and just always gone. And so if you went back through my time from 26 to say 42, my kids barely saw me. I mean, I was there on the weekends, but I wasn't really there. I was always plugged in to work. And when you have a high profile job and you're working in Silicon Valley, that's how it was, especially back then. If I wanted to maintain that lifestyle, that paycheck, I needed to maintain being plugged in like that. And before I knew it, my kids were growing so fast. They start graduating high school. It's like, what the heck? What happened to all this time I had missed? And at the time, my wife and I had a toddler, right? And he was 3-4 years old. And I realized that, man, time goes by so fast, and I really didn't want to miss any of those milestones that I had missed with all my other kids just because I was buried in work all the time. So I really started looking for a way to escape the rat race. And, lo and behold, I got my hands on Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. It's actually right behind me on my bookshelf. It changed everything for me. It really taught me way more than I learned in school, way more than I learned throughout my life about money and about assets and about cash flow. And it just gave me a whole new perspective on everything. That book fired me up, and I knew, okay, I'm going to find a way to basically get out of the rat race as fast as I can, and it's going to be through real estate. Around that time, it just so happened that one of my older daughters had joined the Army and got stationed in Colorado Springs, at Fort Carson, actually the same post that I was stationed at years earlier. And we went out there, we visited her, and I started looking at the real estate that was out there. And I'm like, man, we could buy a fixer-upper in Colorado Springs where it's like 25% of the cost that it's going to be, in San Jose, in the Bay Area. So I started just looking at Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin every single day and just like searching the market for a fixer-upper. So I searched and searched and searched, and I finally found a fire-damaged home for $180,000 in Colorado Springs. Now, the great thing about this house was the fire damage wasn't that bad. It had basically just taken out the kitchen. And so I had different contractors that I was talking to at that time come in and give me quotes for how much it was going to cost to clean up the house, replace the kitchen and all that. And it was going to be around $50K to really get the house completely fixed up. Now, here's the beautiful thing, is that house was surrounded by homes that were worth $350. So I was picking up something for $180 that after I fixed up was going to be worth $350. And I have contractors telling me that this thing is going to cost like $50K to fix up. I was like, okay, man, this is it. This is the one I'm going to pull the trigger on. I brought in a handyman and I put on my gloves and we went to work and we got that house completely fixed up for around $30,000. So $20K less than I had originally estimated. I stuck a renter in that house. It was cash flowing from day one. Yeah, I was out that like $30K that I had put into it and my original down payment, but it was cash flowing. And I basically did the same thing over and over and over again in about a 3-year period. And I went from just having that first fire damaged home to having 10 homes in like 3 years. Like it was crazy how fast I was able to do it because I got the system down. I had a network of contractors, electricians, all the different trades that are out there. So I was able to get the best possible price. I actually, after the third property, I stopped doing anything myself. I realized that my time could be spent better doing other things versus actually with a paintbrush in my hand. Plus, these contractors and handymen that I was working with did a much better job, and it took them a lot less time. So I built a strong network that just made each burr that much easier. And I could walk into a house, after like my fourth one, I could walk into a house and be like, oh yeah, this one's going to cost, X amount of dollars to fix up. So I became very proficient with it. And once I got to that 10 house mark, my cash flow at that time was about $6,500 a month. And so I quickly realized that, I don't need much more to basically get me out of the rat race. So over the next couple years, I, went on and grabbed bigger projects and bigger homes. And so today, again, fast forward to where I am today, we have 12 rental properties and we are invested in several apartment complexes in Texas with a bunch of other investors. And so that cash flow that we get in every month is now my main source of revenue. It's my main income. I ended up quitting my technology job. And now, fast forward to today, I live life on my own terms. That's how we did it. From the Army to Silicon Valley executive to quitting the rat race and now living off of our rental properties.